Hello and welcome. It's the 19th day of April 2023 and I'm saying a big thank you to you for joining me on another interesting episode of the newspaper review here on TAF TV. My name is Cyril Aloysius and I am being joined by one of the very popular faces here, my colleague in the business. His name is Mr. Abule, Williams Abule. You're very much welcome to join me.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and together thank you very much. And together we're going to be looking at headlines in the papers for today. We'll be starting first by taking a look at the Vanguard. Headlines in the Vanguard here, very interesting ones. The boldest one on page 5 says Adamawa Gober crisis. Adamawa Gober crisis. At last, INEC declares Fintiri winner. At last, INEC declares Fintiri winner. That's stories on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Over now to page 11. This one says, my family conspired against me, voted Peter Obi. According to Omahi on page 11, it says, my family conspired against me, voted Peter Obi. That's Omahi saying on page 11. And on page 9, we have flight cancellation. Flight cancellation. Passengers to get 100% immediate refund. According to NCAA on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. And over now to the world of sports on page 29, it says Barca, Benfica, Porto, Monitor, Gift, Orban. All right, that story is on page 29. And on page 12, we have Ara Reme, lawyers, experts raise concern on NNPCL's stability. Okay, that's on page 12. And on page 8, we have 10th NAS. 10th NAS. Why South deserves Senate presidency. 10th NAS. Why South deserves Senate presidency, according to Pandef. On page 8. On page 25 now we have renewed killings. Renewed killings. Buhari's parting gift. That's according to Northern Christian Elders. Renewed killings, Buhari's parting gift, according to Northern Christian Elders on page 25 of the Vanguard. On page 6 now we have kidnapped Kaduna female students escape from terrorist den. That's great news on page 6. Kidnapped Kaduna female students escaped from terrorist den on page 6 of the Vanguard newspaper. On page 9 we have China denies funding terrorists to access Nigerian mineral reserves. China denies funding terrorists to access Nigerian mineral reserves. That story is on page 9 of the Vanguard. And on page 9 again, still on page 9, we have aviation workers adamant over total shutdown of airports. Aviation workers adamant over total shutdown of airports on page 9 of the Vanguard. And on page 11 here, we have a presidential poll. I am not afraid of lies. Propaganda, according to Peter Obi. He says, I am not afraid of lies. The propaganda, Peter Obi is saying on page 11. And lastly, in the Vanguard for today, we have on page 19, this one says, electricity. Electricity, discourse revenue falls 25% as unmetered customers increase by 190,000. Okay, I think that's it for Vanguard newspaper for today. Mr. Williams Abule, please let me get your reaction to this particular headline here on page 5. It says Adamawa Gober crisis. At last, INEC declares Fintiri winner. What's your take on this headline?
Oh, well, that news has been on within the last few days, and even right here on the show, we've discussed some of the very shocking things that transpired during the by-elections, and that led to that very premature declaration of Binani as the winner of that election. And we also saw the moves by INEC, and also we know that INEC recalled the REC for questioning, and they didn't just do that. At this time, they've also gone ahead, to ask the federal government to charge the man to court and all of that. So for me, the declaration of Fintiri as the winner is the right thing to do at this time. Looking at the scenarios that took place, before now, where this REC, bypassed the coalition, the INEC officer that is supposed to make this announcement, bypassed him alongside the Commissioner of Police. Also, the Commissioner of Police is now in trouble, of course, because the IG has been, asked to probe him But first, he has been transferred from Adamawa State. You know, he has been recalled. So for now, we're looking at how they are going to handle that police officer. But for now, we're looking also at the fact that for Ahmed, it is the right thing to do because Aisha has gone the wrong way, if I'll put it that way. Yeah, she has done everything, or she has, you know, played the wrong card. Let me put it that way, because when that illegality was done, where the rec came out to say, you know, we are announcing Aisha as the winner, not even calling out numbers of, you know, the votes and all of that, just, you know, declaring the woman as if she was the only one that, you know, contested the election. Right after that, we also saw Aisha going ahead to give an acceptance speech.
I'm so sorry to cut you, Mr. Abule. I'm so sorry to cut you, but what happened between what the Binani case being announced? Do you see it as exactly the scenario that played out in the just concluded presidential elections?
Well, I wouldn't say
Can that be related?
No, well, these are two different cases. In my opinion,
yes, but do you find some rudiments,
the similarities? Yes, the similarities that I would say I can see clearly are the irregularities and the fact that security agencies are complicit in most of these crimes. Because for a police commissioner who is supposed to be upholding the law to join in an illegality, that's to tell you that if you were talking about the general elections, these security agencies have been neck deep.
Don't you think that confidence stemmed from somewhere?
That's what we're saying. We know very well that politicians are very desperate.
For the Commissioner of Police to have the temerity to do such a thing, he must have seen things that have been done previously before then, and then he followed the footsteps.
So it's no news that politicians do everything within their power to get into offices. One would say, why are they doing all of these things? Why do they have to force their way into offices? That is an answer that Nigerians are yet to get. Why our politicians always do this. But
it's obvious, Mr. Abule,
we know that
they are not there to serve the people.
Yes, because our political positions have been very juicy. Our political positions have been made very juicy, so politicians see this as a
opportunity to cash out.
Yes, get rich quick scheme kind of scheme. So a young man that just graduated today jumps into politics and begin to look for means and every way possible to get into a political post so that he can milk money from, you know, taxpayers' money and federal government as well. So back to the issue of, you know, the relationship between the general elections and, you know, this scenario in Adamawa. It clearly shows that security agencies, politicians are very desperate. Plus, of course, the level of bribery that goes on during this election period. So when they don't succeed in bribing the electorates, they go out to bribing both INEC officers, security agencies to do their dirty biddings. And now, for once, we are beginning to see some of these things play out. My only wish is that they don't just end it at this whole drama that we're seeing at this point. Let heads begin to roll. Let us see people go to jail. Let us see people indicted properly, you know, within our justice system for crimes that they commit. Aisha, on the other hand, you know, I blame her a lot for, she made a lot of wrong moves. Just imagine that Aisha had come out to disagree with the declaration and say that, oh, I am not a party to that. I'm sure a lot of people, she would have gained a lot of respect. Yes. But she hurriedly went ahead to accept the declaration and, you know, thereby giving people false hope. Her followers were celebrating, whereas she didn't want to openly recognize and speak against the illegality that was being done in Adamawa State. It's quite unfortunate, but this is mostly, you know, the play out in our political scene.
And it's a sad one.
It's very
sad one indeed.
Very unfortunate.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Abule, for your thoughts on that headline. Let's move straight now to further headlines in other papers. We shall be looking at the Daily Times now. This one in Daily Times says, I think, Adamawa Guber poll. Fintiri wins as court turns down Binani's motion. Okay, we just talked about this previously. And this one says, federal government poised to commission Abuja-Kano Expressway before May 29th. FG poised to commission Abuja-Kano Expressway before May 29th. And this one says Labour Party suspends Lamidi Apapa, others appoint acting executive. Labour Party suspends Lamidi Apapa, others appoints acting executives. Another headline here in Daily Times says aviation unions to federal government prepare for total shutdown in 7 days. Aviation unions to federal government, they say prepare for total shutdown in 7 days. Scary times ahead. Let's move on now to further headlines in Daily Times. This one says Africa needs rapid industrialization to get millions out of poverty. That's Osibanjo saying there in Daily Times. I go again. Africa needs rapid industrialization to get millions out of poverty. That's Osibanjo saying. And this one says Buller partners federal government to enhance rice production, food security. That story is on page 20 of the Daily Times. I go again. Buller partners federal government to enhance rice production, food security. You could get details of that headline on page 20 of the Daily Times. And lastly, in the Daily Times for today, this one says Daily Times survey, how 2023 general elections shaped integrated marketing communications in Nigeria. Okay, that's it for Daily Times for today. Mr. Williams Abule, please let me get your thoughts on this particular headline here. It says aviation unions to federal government prepare for total shutdown in 7 days.
Well, I'll start by saying that our government has been highly irresponsible as to taking care of workers in Nigeria. We've seen this in, many strikes that have been the order of the day here in Nigeria, from the educational sector to the health sector. And now we have, airline operators or a workers union going on strike again. And this will greatly affect our economy, because we've seen this happen before when we had, a jet fuel crisis in the past. And it led to grounding of the, airlines operations in Nigeria. We know how bad this ate into our economy. And now we are back there again. This time around, it is the unions of, air travelers, pilots, engineers, and all of that are downing tools due to unpaid wages and refusal of the government, or the inability of the government to implement agreements that they've had in the past. You see, that's why I say we have a Ministry of Labor that is not doing their job in the right way. That is why we have countless unions, coming out to show their disapproval for the lack of concern that this government have for workers. We remember when we talked about, a minimum wage. Up till today, most state governments cannot even pay the minimum wage of 30,000 naira. Some other governments people have been working in some other state governments for months without salary. We're not even talking about pensions. These are some of the things that I feel that for a country as rich as Nigeria, we have our own issues in our economy, but we should not deepen the problems by, not doing what is required of the government and then plunging us into more economic downturn, because this is just a warning strike of 3 days that has already affected people. You see, cancellation of scheduled flights.
So you can actually imagine what the real strike is going to look like.
And they are now saying that in a week's time, if the federal government does not, come out to change the situation, they're going to go on something indefinite. And that is not what we want at this time, because money is being lost at both ends. And mind you, most of these airlines are privately owned, right? So these private businesses are going to be losing huge sums of money. Imagine international flights being cancelled, that you are scheduled to probably have a meeting in Dubai, and it's been cancelled because we have an irresponsible government. And right up to this moment as we speak, federal government has not come out yet to engage them. So we don't know. We are hoping that before the 3 days, 1 week period elapses, they will engage them and see how they can, reach a middle ground and stop them from going for an indefinite strike.
Okay.
But for now, I'm so sure that the aviation sector is already raining losses. Yeah.
So, Mr. Williams Abule, what do you think can be done to rectify this situation right now?
Well, like I said, we need to have a responsible Ministry of Labor, people that are capable enough to interface with these workers. Because it is not just the aviation system, as it were. Let's not forget that ASU will still have grievances against the government. It's just a matter of time before they will go back striking again.
So do you feel like all of this further gives a pointer to the fact that just maybe the government isn't really interested in the well-being of the citizens, because as like we've said before, that these politicians of nowadays don't really want to serve. Not of nowadays. I mean, that has been the case since our independence. But it's just that we've had don't really go into office to really serve the citizens, but they go there for their own personal interest. So all this happening right now, do you think it gives further confirmation to that fact?
I totally agree, based on the fact that, you know, why have agreements with these workers if you're not going to keep it?
Keep it, yeah.
And then this pay that you are supposed to give to them, what are you owing them for? I've never heard that they owed salaries of, you know, National Assembly members, senators, governors.
Let's just say politicians.
They don't owe them. But yet we see where they owe workers in the National Assembly. That's, you know, admin staff and all of those. They owe them.
So at this point in time, it's looking like the entire system is corrupt.
What I'm even trying to point out is that if they cannot owe a senator that earns over 25 million naira as his monthly salary, why owe these workers that you pay not even up to half a million naira? Why owe them? What is the excuse? And aviation sector in Nigeria is a very critical one. It's a very critical part of our economy. So why wait until such a sector is being grounded? And I believe that they are going to attend to this real quick, because, of course, it is going to be affecting a lot of their movements. A lot of the big wigs do flights. Most average Nigerians, they go by roads. But now most of these people will be forced to either drive in the highly insecure or unsecured road that we have. You know, because insecurity level on our highways are at the rooftop level.
They increase every day.
Every day, people are being kidnapped, people are being killed, and, you know, just before the election, there was a bit of calm on our roads, but we know what is happening even here.
Even on the air, it's really not safe. It's still not safe even on the air, because we still have a plane crash on 2
days ago, just somewhere called the Breakway here in Port Harcourt, you know, a convoy was ambushed, a few policemen were killed, and the occupants of that, you know, vehicle kidnapped.
Wow.
So the insecurity level is coming back. Bandits are back in their operations. So it is not a safe time. It's not a good time to
be on the road.
To be on the roads, because but in another way, if you look at it, somehow it will get these aviation workers to get quick response from the government, which is what is actually required of them in a sinner climb. When people come and grumble and say, okay, I think we're getting tired of the agreement we had that you don't want to meet, please do what is needful. I expect a responsible government to give a listening ear and see how quickly these issues can be resolved.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Williams Abule, for your thoughts on that headline. Okay, so we'll go on a break right now, and when we return, we'll continue from where we stopped, and of course, I call it a day on today's episode of this about review. Please keep watching, don't go away.
Hey there, are you looking to record your videos, do your voiceovers, and take your professional pictures? Look no further. With our state-of-the-art newsroom, photography, kitchen for our food content creators, and exclusive children's studio, we certainly can deliver the best studio experience. Our carefully designed studio space can bring your diverse creative content ideas to life. We aim to consistently serve value to our customers far and wide. Come, let Tharv Media give life to your dreams. Tharv Media, a slice of infotainment.
Yes, you are welcome back from that short break, and still on the newspaper review here on Tharv TV. We have the Daily Sun newspaper looking at us now. Headlines in the Daily Sun says, Fintiri wins Adamawa Guber as heads continue to roll. Okay, we already read this before in the previous paper. And this headline here on page 25 says, aviation workers locked out of offices as unions lay siege to Lagos International Airport. That story is on page 25. And this one on page 4 says, scores of bandits, vigilantes, kidnap victims killed in Niger gun duel. Okay, that story is on page 4 of Daily Sun. On page 26, we have APC expels Senator Goje over anti-party activities. APC expels Senator Goje over anti-party activities. That is on page 28 of Daily Sun. On page 4 now, we have court nullifies Ara Reme's removal as NNPC board chair, awards 5 billion naira damages. Page 4. The story is on page 4. And lastly, in Daily Sun, we have Buhari to commission second Niger bridge before May 29th. Buhari to commission second Niger bridge before May 29th, according to Gambari on page 21 of Daily Sun. So, Mr. Williams Abuli, please, before we call us a day on the program for today, I'd like to get your reaction to this particular headline on page 4. It says, cause of bandits, vigilantes, kidnap victims killed in Niger gun duel. Please, what do you make of this headline? Does this further highlight the level of insecurity right now in the country?
Okay, it's true that the bandits are back. That's an old news at this time. And in one of those headlines, when I read this morning, you hear when they say this is a parting gift from President Muhammad Buhari's government. And it's quite unfortunate. This is a government that said they want to leave a legacy behind.
So sorry to cut you, Mr. Abuli, but do you think this actually gives further proof to the fact that just maybe these bandits are working with the politicians?
Well, I don't have proof to that at this time, but if you look at the way things are happening, before these elections, there was a level of calm everywhere. I don't know whether that was related to the money crunch at that time. And probably because, because the Naira notes, the old Naira notes have been brought back into operations, just maybe that has also heightened their confidence level to come back into operations of kidnapping.
Because let's take our minds back to when, sorry for cutting you again, let's take our minds back to when, just shortly before Buhari won the elections that made him president, I think 2015 or so.
Yeah.
He said that he was going to make the government of Jonathan ungovernable.
True.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he further went ahead to become the president of the country afterwards, after making such a statement. Now, if an ordinary individual made such a statement, I believe you already know the implication of such statement and what such a talk could land that person into. But because maybe it was coming from Buhari, and then I don't understand the reason why Buhari has not been held accountable for that statement. Personally, I think we all felt that that statement was a little bit out of boundaries. I mean, why you're not yet in power, you're threatening the incumbent government, telling them that you make his government ungovernable for him.
Well,
something must have brought about such level of confidence for you to say that. How else does he now intend to make Jonathan's government ungovernable, if not through, you know what I'm trying to talk about?
But then, we operate by evidence. We want to say that since all of those stories as to why, banditry and the rest are on the increase are not directly linked to the president before he became, before he came into office or even while in office, one cannot truly say. But yes, it has been confirmed, or we've seen evidences in different reports that some high-profile people, both politicians and people in society, yes, they've been linked and associated with these bandits. And that, my major concern is that whenever such reports come out, we don't have these people prosecuted.
That's the problem.
The highest thing you can see the government of Nigeria do is invite them for questioning. And that's the last you will hear of such cases. We have never once heard that, one person has been arrested for being associated with terrorists. We know that these terrorists are being funded by high-profile people within and outside the country. We've also seen reports where we saw funding from, countries within the Middle East and all of that, terrorist groups within the Middle East, funding these bandits and terrorists within our country. So yes, I know that somehow, whether we like it or not, these sponsorships are going on. But my take is that we need a responsible government that will be responsible enough to push back to the barest minimum these attacks, especially now that they are resurfacing. Buhari is leaving office, yes, but he has a few months to still be, let's say, well, maybe up to a month or two, to do something. Else, he's going to leave office and become a civilian, a normal human being, citizen of Nigeria. How about the safety of loved ones? He needs to consider all of this, and let the security agencies begin to do their job, because these attacks are one too many. Look at the deaths every single day in Benue State, in Niger State, in Kaduna. People are dying every day.
Constant attacks.
Yes, it has been constant within the last 2-3 months, and it's very unfortunate. I believe that the government of Nigeria has the capacity to stop this menace, but they are not doing their job properly.
And why aren't they doing so, Mr. Abule? Do you feel like the reason why they are not doing so is, again, as a result of their association with these persons?
Well,
because let's not forget that Nigerian politicians are amongst the highest paid, if not the highest paid in the world.
True, true.
So do you feel like the salary of our Nigerian politicians is actually a problem right now? Because there is no way I myself, because I've tried to give this a thought over and over again. If I am a politician right now, there is no way I come to terms with the fact that, okay, I don't earn much. My salary is not up to 10 million naira as a politician. So that means the little money I earn, I will try to look for a way to invest it reasonably. But in a case where I'm aware that my salary is extremely high, it's outrageous. Even when I do little or nothing, I still get paid. So don't you think the rate at which these our politicians earn their salary is a little bit too much? Now,
of course,
I'm talking about salary. I haven't even mentioned the wardrobe allowances yet. I haven't even mentioned other allowances yet.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things I feel should be reviewed in our constitution, especially regarding how juicy political offices are in this country. But you see that members of the National Assembly, who are these politicians that we're talking about, they don't do what is expected of them. They rather make laws that continually protects their interests. Recently, when the laws regarding restrictions for medical practitioners from leaving this country, like they were trying to create a law to restrict medical practitioners from leaving this country until after 5 years of practice before you can freely leave. These are the things we're talking about. Never a time will you see these politicians in the Senate or in the House of Reps deliberate on laws that will cut down on the huge amounts that they earn. We're not even talking about kickbacks that comes from different, interactions with different committees in the House.
Mr. Abule, I've seen videos, I've seen clips of these politicians who sleep in House of Reps.
Yeah.
When decisions have been made, most of them are sleeping. They are busy sleeping. And I'm like, are these the people who are supposed to be leading this country, where important issues of the country is being discussed? You are busy sleeping.
That's what I'm saying.
And then you sleep and wake up and collect salary.
So we have a lot of irregular or unusual things happening in our political state.
And these things are shown on international TV.
Yes. So we yearn every day for a responsible government that will stand up and do the things that are required of them. Do the things that they swear to oath to do. But then we have not seen that happen most of the time. So we're just going to keep hoping that, our journey to maturity, happens really quick.
Yeah, we're just going to keep hoping. And just like I told Mr. Victor some time ago when he joined me on the program, I told him that maybe one of the major reasons why these politicians we have in this country will keep misbehaving is as a result of the fact that our God is just too merciful. And they end up swearing always by our God, the one true Jehovah. How about we have them swear by our traditional gods?
Have them swear by something.
Something else
that will happen to them.
Yes, by other gods.
Yeah. So
maybe they will sit up more, and maybe they will be more serious.
True.
And maybe they will say things that they actually did mean. Because these days we have politicians lie a lot to the masses. I will do this, I will do that, and then at the end of the day they end up doing nothing. But when you give a politician of today, how do they call it, offer or something to swear? Oh yeah, Mr. Man, swear by this offer that if you don't do this, as you say you would, you and your generation will be wiped off. You will see them sitting up. I told you, it will work. It will work. But they won't bring it into, they won't make it happen because they know that it will stop a lot of things from, a lot of money from coming to their pockets.
But again, that's why we have a judicial system that is supposed to hold these politicians accountable. The problem we have here is that we have a dysfunctional judicial system where politicians have also laid siege of. So most times when you see people, take these politicians to court, the politicians are very confident of the fact that they are going to get favorable judgment. Nothing is going to change.
Maybe because of something. Maybe because they've
exactly, because we have a dysfunctional justice system. So that has given these politicians leverage. We don't actually need, traditional gods to make them get accountable. The judicial system is capable of doing that. But even the judicial system has been badly compromised. So we don't see them working very well the way they should. So that's where we are. We are hoping that these institutions of governance, these institutions that are supposed to help us have the best kind of operation of government, wake up to their responsibility and do what is required of them.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Mr. Williams Abule, for your thoughts with me on the program for today.
Thank you too,
I really do appreciate your time with me, and I want to say thank you to you as well for staying faithful to your screen up until this time, because without you, we would not be here. Don't forget that this is the newspaper review here on TAP TV, and we have come to the end of today's episode. Please, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure you do so, and after doing so, you could turn on your notification bell so you know when we come online and drop new videos. You can check us out on our different social media platforms as well. On YouTube, with TAP TV on YouTube, on Instagram, we are TAP TV_NG, on Facebook and Twitter with TAP TV. My name is Cyril. I watch this once again, and thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.